wanted to talk Hydra today, and I brought an interesting perspective to pick his brain. Let's do it. What's up, guys? MtgJedi here. I am pleased and thrilled to be joined by my friend Jay Giggs this morning to talk Hydra. I really had some interesting thoughts, and I know that he's a very interesting perspective on this game, so I thought I'd bring him on here. We talk about Hydra today, and you guys can get all salty in the comments. How you doing today, Jay?
I'm pretty good, man. Ready to spread the salt, I reckon.
All right, that sounds good. I think this is the most upset I've ever seen the raid player base, so I'm ready to stir the pot, and hopefully in a good direction, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so I thought we would jump in here and talk about our perspectives on building Hydra teams, because I know a lot of people are going to be building new teams to try to deal with all of these Hydra changes. And we're going to follow up this video with a video on his channel. So we'll have all the links here. You can go over and watch that over there. We're going to talk about his teams and ideas on improving them. So sort of like put all of these things in action. So make sure you go follow him. He has awesome, super fun, free-to-play series over there. And so if you haven't seen his content, you should definitely check it out. And then we'll just jump right in here with some Hydra stuff on this side. So, number one, before we jump in, I'm just curious what you think, like, how much of the player base is actually hitting Nightmare Hydra? Do you think it's a big part?
No, I don't. I guess I don't really know. I'm sure there's people in my Discord hitting Nightmare, but it seems like for the most part, it is not people hitting Nightmare in at least my community. So maybe someone that's hitting Nightmare and making content about it. Like I know Nubkex makes a lot of Hydra content. So like maybe y'all's communities are more involved in Nightmare, but I don't think I have a ton of people doing it. I'm sure there's a few, but yeah.
Okay, so
I'm not
maybe
there
we'll
yet.
start off with like hard with our perspective, but I think a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about today applies to any level. Just curious on your perspective on that one. So when you're going to work on a Hydra team, no matter what account that is, what's your thought process like on where to start for building a team?
That's an interesting question. I'm only starting to recently get back into it. I've tried to remember how I approached it a while back, because there was a phase, I mean, probably a couple of years ago, where I was pretty heavily into Hydra, and I was putting together teams. I know that when I think of Hydra, the first thing I think about is the head of Decay.
Okay.
That's my least favorite head. So I immediately think, like, who do I have a provoker
Yeah.
that I can deal with head of Decay first? And then it's typically do I also have Ugo? So that's about my level of expertise to getting
Okay.
started anyway.
All right. I love that. I love that. I mean, Ugo, one of the best Hydra champions available in the game. So that's a really fun thing to have as your thought process. So you think then, from your perspective, one of the most, important things to have in your team is going to be somebody who's provoking.
I think maybe it's a combination of like important and maybe more obtainable. Like I also
Okay.
understand that the head of mischief is a problem, but I think that's a little bit harder to navigate than just locking down decay and preventing the cleanse. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. And have you ever run a team with just a provoke gear set, or do you typically try to put in a provoke champion?
I typically try to go with a champion because I think it's more reliable. I haven't really messed with a provoke set much.
Okay, okay. A lot of times when I'm building a team, I try to do both. Or sometimes, depending on the champion, there are a couple that are really good with provoke sets, like the Owl Gwendolyn is particularly good with a provoke set. She can basically just keep that head locked down the whole time. So, for provoke champions, are there ones that you like or dislike? Trying to put together, eventually, I hope, sort of like a tier list for who the best champions are at each of these roles.
I mean, I've always ridden really hard for War Chief. I think
Have you?
War Chief is crazy for it. Yeah, I've always loved War Chief.
Oh, dude, I have also always loved War Chief.
Nice. Yeah, even before
Yes.
the buffs, I used to say, like, I want more for him. I wish they would just give him a little bit of something because I think he's had so much potential.
Yes.
So yeah, I love War Chief.
I never heard anybody else agree with me on that. That's wonderful.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep.
Yeah, so I did some extensive testing with him, and he's very, very good now. Way,
Yeah.
way better than he used to be. But he can keep the head of decay provoked the entire time.
Even off affinity, like he's
yeah.
still pretty reliable with it. He's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah. Any other provoke champions that like stick out to you that you want to mention here?
I think Seeker, if it's the right affinity, is pretty
Yes.
solid.
I have definitely used some Seeker as well. It's a very common one for people to have leveled up. And then that turn meter boost and the increased attack is really good as well.
Yeah, I just got a 6-star soul for him too.
Sick. Sick.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
I would say, from my perspective, the number one best provoker is going to be Molly.
Interesting.
When I'm going to build a Hydra team, oftentimes the place that I start is the Reviver, because I want every team to have a Reviver that just leads to so much less RNG. Like, who cares if this bad things happened? Then you just revive and then you keep going. So I've
That's a
seen
great
really
point.
good results for putting revivers in the team, and with that provoke, she does both really, really well. And then the other really common one that I recommend all the time is Vizix, because
Yeah.
she does the decreased speed and the provoke. So I tell people all the time. And as you can see here, she is actually in a provoke set, oddly enough. That's the build I've been running in her for a long time now, is that provoke set, so that even when she's doing her other skills, she can still be your provoke champ.
There's something in my brain that remembers when she was awful, and it's like
Right?
I can't get over that sometimes. I can't remember that she's really good now sometimes.
I don't know if people remember when she was awful. There's so many
Man.
people who haven't been playing when she was awful. So
Yeah.
if we say, like, you know, we're going to have our war chief in here, we're going to have the Ugo that you so love, because we know that we want block buffs, and Ugo is just like a very common champion for people to have, right? As you said, you know, you've had her on multiple accounts. So then what's your next step after that, of something that you really want to include in your Hydra team?
I usually have a lot of success with HP burns.
Now picture that. But everywhere.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
I'm rarely at a stage on my main account. Maybe I'm at a stage where I could try to go impact damage, but I generally am trying to do chip damage and survive long enough for HP burns to add up.
Awesome.
So I tend to throw someone like an R-Attack or something in.
I saw you got him on your OG account.
Yeah, actually excited about that.
Yeah, yeah. So do you think that that's just like the go-to for most people is R-Tac?
I think so, because he's got the HP burn and the attack down, and those are
Yeah,
two pretty important
yeah.
things, I think.
I
So,
think a lot of people who struggle with Hydra, maybe putting that decrease attack in their team is like something that's going to really help them. I'm glad you mentioned that. It's one of those things that, despite the number of Hydra takeovers I do, I still often do not remember to put decrease attack in the team. I want more damage. So I don't care
Right.
about decrease attack. I just want more damage. So what other HP burn champions do you like? Are there any other like accessible ones that you think are good for people to have, or it's just like, you know, use who you have kind of a thing?
I think it's mostly use who you have. I throw in Chronum sometimes in a secondary team.
Okay.
Just because I'm limited for options, though. I don't know that I would encourage building a team around him, but he does okay.
Do you encourage
Um,
people grinding to get him?
No, I wouldn't.
I don't
probably wouldn't.
either. Like, I've used him from time to time over the years, but not enough that it's worthwhile. Like, if I
Yeah.
had to do my own referral accounts, I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah,
was
I
blessed
think
to have other
like
people.
maybe if you don't get Artak and you're not going to get Akoth and you can't get Mordecai and you can't get any other HP burn. All
Yeah.
right, fine. But
Yeah.
no, I don't think he's worth it.
Okay, so
Uh,
have you actually used some of those other epics on in Hydra though? Like the
I
Akoths and the Mordecais of the world?
not really. I don't
Okay.
think I've really had to.
Okay. I think Geomancer is usable. I haven't had good success with Akoth, so I don't think I'd push for him. But I have had reasonable success with like normal Hydra, like your first Hydra team having like a Mordecai. But I think
Yeah.
after that, it's probably better to find like a good epic like Skrank or any legendary that has HP burn, really. Do you agree with
Yeah.
that, or you think I'm off
Yeah, I would
base
say
there?
so. No,
Okay, cool.
I would agree with that.
All right, so we have a little bit of damage. We have provoke. We have decreased defense and block buffs. What's next?
What you said earlier about the reviver was interesting, and I have recently discovered that that seems to be pretty necessary because I've been trying to put together some teams on mine, and the times I don't have a reviver, Ninja will go down, and it's like, well, okay, I guess he's just out of the fight now. I don't have anybody to bring him back, so
Yeah, but
I
I'm
do think
glad
the
that you
reviver is.
mentioned Ninja because I've had conversations recently where it was mentioned in a serious tone that he might be one of the best Hydra damage dealers right now, just like overall. So I think he's going to be always a good option for people who have him, Ninja, at least in one of your three teams.
Yeah,
Okay, so
especially if you have Mikage, right?
right. Yes, especially if you have Mikage. But basically you can put Mikage with any Shadowkin and then you're just going to get extra attacks, but he's
Mhm.
particularly good with her. So, are you experimenting with any revivers in particular? You got any spicy reviver picks for me?
I use Elva
Okay,
in my
Elva's
like main
great.
team. She's so
Uh,
good.
I got Elva way too late on my account. She was one I always wanted, and I tried to pull for her many times, and then once I got her, I already had lots of other options. So I
Yeah.
haven't used her that much. What is it that you like about her for your Hydra team?
She just is one of those champs that like every time she takes a turn, it matters. She's cleansing and putting block debuffs. I've got her in her protection set, so she's putting up stuff that can't get stripped a lot of the time. The revive comes around a lot. She's got the speed lead. She's just everything she's doing. I think I pulled her at exactly the right time on my account.
That's
She is
cool.
so like Wither I pulled really early, and Wither carried me through a lot, and then I pulled Elva, and Elva continues to carry me through a lot. She's
Yeah.
crazy good.
Yeah, I love the cleanse and the increased speed, but I think the passive is like one of my favorite parts about her kit. It's like we
Yeah,
all loved that part about Scylla the Drakes, and
yeah.
it's good to have it on like an actual better champion.
And the
Um,
veil is handy because it
yeah,
in the team I was running, it goes on Ninja a lot, so he gets to go after Torment risk free, which
yes,
is pretty handy.
that's cool. That's very cool. Okay, love it. So, what are some other? Well, actually, should we mention any other revivers here? I think basically whoever you have, I've probably put every possible reviver in a team,
Mhm.
like Cephii, Glycade, Pythion, like you name it. Even like
I've
the
had success with Syl, like
Syl, absolutely,
yeah,
yeah. Especially for people's normal teams, she can definitely be good there.
yeah, absolutely.
Um, one of the next abilities that I really am looking for a lot of the times is going to be decreased speed. And well, first of all, do you like including that in your team, and how much of a priority is that for you?
It's not something I think about yet
Okay.
because while I notice that the buff goes up, I think it's another one of those things that subconsciously in my head they're dragons. So there's
Okay.
something in my head going, I don't need to worry about slowing them down because I can't.
Oh,
Even though you
okay.
can.
Yeah.
So it hasn't become a priority for me
Okay.
as much as some of the other stuff yet. So
Okay.
it's just a
Okay.
matter of getting familiar with it.
Okay. In like before the Hydra changes, decreased speed was something that I'm always looking for. But now that's kind of a debatable hot topic of do you want the decreased speed in there? Because if you're killing heads a lot, you put
True.
decreased speed on them and then they just are immune to damage for a longer amount of time. That's not good. But I think that a lot of people aren't killing the heads fast enough and they need the decreased speed. So I think we're back to some people need it and some people don't, which makes it a hard situation. But that's one of those debuffs that has been super helpful for me. So I think my advice is, if you're struggling for damage, put it in there. And if you're pushing for damage, take it out. And I think that based on what I've seen of like your account, you're probably like right smack dab in that middle range. So you're just going to have to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are stuck there too. I think my guess would be the majority of the player base is in hard, trying to push to brutal, and feeling bullied by Polarium for lowering their damage. That would be my guess. What else do we need in our team here that I am clearly forgetting about?
I usually go for a buff stripper. Buff stripper.
Okay, a buff stripper.
Because Mischief is going to get my buffs because I can't get the resistance on everybody, and I can't guide it the way some people have figured out to. I get a lot of mileage out of somebody like Wukong.
That is not a thing that I was going to think about. No. Remove buffs. Okay. So, who are the champions that you're looking to in order to remove buffs?
I tend to go Sun Wukong first because he also gives me the block buffs.
Okay, you put them in the same team.
If I can help it, I don't.
Okay.
Like now that I'm trying to actually build multiple teams, but for a while it was I kind of was in a position where I knew I had one team in me, so it was like just get the best of everything I can get into the one team and do the most damage I can. Now I'm at a point where I'm able to have some success with multiple teams, so I'm trying to spread around what I have. But beyond that, it starts to get tough. Like I try to run Saris, I've tried a couple of things, and I get a lot more mileage out of Wukong than anybody else, though.
Yeah, Saris would pair well with him if as your decreased defense champion, but then you're doubling up on the buff removal. But that's interesting. I think Saris is ready to make a comeback with pinpoint gear.
I hope so. She's always been one of my favorites.
Right? That's interesting. I have not considered like specifically having buff removal in there. So that's a cool.
Yeah, that might be a lower
thought.
level problem. Like maybe in the later levels, y'all just can hit resistance and it's not a big deal. But
I mean, that's probably true. Yeah, Odin actually works well for that. The buff removal.
I bet he does.
For the people who got him, which from the amount of requests I've gotten for a second Odin video, it seems like a lot of people got him, which kind of shocks me. But
good.
I don't know. I think we need... I know there's like 4,000 champions here on this search, but I don't feel like most of them are actually good. Like, you're gonna play Michinaki, but that's for the decreased defense and the Hex. He also does have the buff removal, though. So, I mean, that is part of what makes him good. That is super interesting. I bet that's one of the reasons. I got a lot
of mileage out of Kimmy in my old Free to Succeed.
Man, you read my mind.
This is the funnest night ever!
I was going to say exactly that. Like, maybe that's why people like Lady Kimmy in their Hydra teams.
She's also got the decreased accuracy on top of the strip, right? So, like, then it makes it a little more manageable moving forward.
Absolutely. So, I know that Lady Kimmy is a meme on my channel. We have jokes about stealing her boots and all manner of Lady Kimmy things. So, we'll stick her in the team here because she kind of fulfills that role that I'm looking for too sometimes with the decreased speed. And then we probably just need a dedicated damage dealer. So, who's your go-to for damage? Or is there another role that you typically want to put in here?
I think my go-to, I mean, that's recently changed. I guess now it would be Wallmaster.
Ooh, nice.
My team was Elva, Wallmaster, Deacon, Sun Wukong, Mithrala, Thor.
Okay, yeah. Thor would be a great example of a high-class damage dealer that people have. Mithrala is a great shout-out here because she's going to bring survivability and buffs that are helpful, and the Hex. And that Hex is, I think, in that same category of decreased speed. If you're trying to push damage, putting that Hex in the team is going to add a lot of value.
What is Hex doing in Hydra for us?
So, what Hex does is a couple of things. The head that you hate that steals all of your buffs, the head of Mischief, it allows you to target him. So, when you have the Hex debuff on there, you can just go attack it like normal. And
Okay.
then you don't run into the weird situations of people running all over the place, which is hilarious, but it just lets you
Yeah.
target him. And
Especially with
then
MtgJedi's ally attack and
it's
everybody just
hilarious.
scatters.
Yes, they scatter. It's so funny. And then the other thing that it does is it creates splash damage. So whoever has Hex gets splash damage from the attack. So if you have an AoE attack and everybody has Hex, they take multiple instances of damage.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. It wasn't like that when it first came out. They changed it. Like,
Yeah, I
they
didn't remember
buffed
any
the
of that.
Hex damage, I think mostly so they could put it in other places. It's been a really helpful tool in order to help people get more damage. The Curse set does the same thing. So if you don't have a good Hex champion,
Yeah.
or
Okay.
you can't put, you can't put Mithrala in every team, then you just put somebody in a Curse set, and it adds up to a lot of damage, surprisingly.
How
So-
is Cleo for Hydra?
absolute
Does she
garbage.
do
Don't
AoE
use
Hex?
her. Yeah,
Absolute
absolute garbage.
Okay.
Yeah, not worth your time.
That's a shame.
It is, unfortunately. We could take a second and talk about that because I definitely have some strong opinions about this topic. I personally, I love an unlovable champion, and that is Scorid. People do not like him. He got so much hate, and I got so much flack for recommending him, but he's still really good. He's not as good as other champions, but he's still really good, and I think that that's the thing that people need to realize. It's like, okay, well, Michinaki's better. Yes, Valkonen is better. Those are the two best ones, but he's right under that. Like, he's still third place. So anyway, I love that guy. Some people have a special place in their heart for Calamitous. I'm not one of those people. We can't say these words out loud. This champion that nobody can get anymore, so let's skip that. And other than that, I think Packmaster and Tila Gourmain are the only other usable ones. There are niche cases for Holstring and
Rule?
Yeah, Rule the Huntmaster. They're okay. So there's like a reasonable amount of usable ones, but a lot of times people just end up putting the curse set on somebody. It can even be like a crappy curse set on Lady Kimmy, for example, and that will just make her so much more efficient.
Okay, interesting.
Are there any other damage dealers that you've had good success with that you want to mention in this last spot?
My normal teams, I used Ninja in damage for one, and the other I had Artek and Rathalos.
Rathalos is great, yes. For me, one of my secret weapons when I'm on people's accounts is the Rabbit. He does a surprising amount of damage, and he brings really great things to your team. Increased speed, leech, but he boosts his damage over time. He has one of those passives that like builds himself up, and so he does a surprising amount of damage. That's kind of one of my go-tos that a lot of people just have sitting around, but it can really be anybody who is gonna do good damage for you. Enemy max HP champions are fine in that spot, etc. It's kind of just like whoever you have on your account, right?
Right.
The last thing that sometimes I try to put in my teams is ally attack. How do you feel about that right now?
It's not something I think about. I guess I think about it a little more now because of Mikage, but I mean, I certainly think it's a good idea.
I like ally attack for a lot of people, and basically all of them are usable, which is cool. I think some people put ally attack in their teams and then they just expect them to be a millions of damage more. But like in a team like this, putting ally attack in there, like what's your purpose for ally attacking, right? To get more war chief hits? No, we don't care, right? So like it depends on the team whether the ally attack is going to be helpful or not. Especially if you have like a turn meter booster, you're probably better off putting just another good damage dealer in there. And then that way you can just take more turns with another damage dealer rather than trying to get an ally attack.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, cool. And let's go ahead and just like wrap up the video here with like, what are your thoughts in general on Hydra right now? And how can we fix it to be better?
Man, how can we fix it? I mean, other than like some minor complaints that I'm noticing the more that I play Hydra. I don't really know. I think I'm obviously not as upset as everybody else is about the changes to Hydra,
Yeah.
and that's pissed a lot of people off.
Same. Yeah, same.
But it's like, I don't know. I feel like they were there. This seems like they're trying to
It
actually
does.
make
I
it
agree.
better. And I know
agree.
that sucks because it
Yeah.
ruins a lot of teams, but I just feel like you can't be dropping billions of damage a key. That's just
Yeah.
that can't be working as intended. So
I know.
I get that it sucks, and I feel that it sucks. Like I'm having to do stuff too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I reckon it'll pass. I hope they make a few more tweaks. There's a few tweaks I think they need to make. But yeah, it's almost weird to see them do something that I'm like, I don't know. I think they're actually trying this time because it's been 5 years and I feel like they've never tried. So
Right?
it's weird.
Yeah. I
But
think for
yeah.
me, the block damage, like they're immune to damage, that respawning mechanic when the head comes back, I think that's the most frustrating part when you're doing a lot of damage. Have you experienced that yet?
I have run into that. I think I misunderstood how it worked too, because I have ended up in situations where they come back staggered because I think because of Thor, I'm killing heads fast.
Right.
And I end up in a situation where it's like I really can't do anything for a whole turn because I can't hurt any of them. So
Yeah.
it's not great. And then I'm noticing digestion. I'm feeling the changes in digestion, which I said I would. I already struggled with that, and I'm feeling that heavy.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you get that stupid little shield that goes on top of digestion, and it's like, well, okay, they're gone. I can't get
The
them
life
now.
barrier.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I think if they scaled down that consumption shield and they made some restrictions to the block damage, like one head can have the block damage at a time, no more.
I think that
No
is very
matter when they
reasonable.
respawn, only one can have the block damage. I think that would keep the problems at bay, but it would also allow people to push damage a little bit and like actually do damage. I was testing some things and there were multiple times where all 4 heads had block damage. And I'm just
Yeah,
like
that's just
sitting there and
taking hits. Like,
why am I even here? Why
yeah.
am I even here? So
Yeah.
I think that they're trying, which I do appreciate also, and I think that we're headed in the right direction. But everybody who made it to this far into the video will definitely let us know their opinions in the comments.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then we're gonna head over and record a video talking about your Hydra teams on your channel. But is there anything else that you wanted to mention here, or anything else you want to promote? What do you want to say before we wrap it up here?
Just that I appreciate you having me on. I've learned stuff in this conversation actually that I think
Oh,
is going to be
sick.
helpful for me already. So
Okay,
I'm excited
awesome,
to
awesome. I'm
really
excited to go
get
talk
digging into
about
it.
your Hydra teams and see what we can do over there. One of my loves in Raid is actually building Hydra teams, so I'm excited about it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
One of the very few people.
I guess. Yeah, I guess that's why people talk to me about it all the time. It's like the number
Yeah.
one question. So anyway, thanks so much for taking some time. It can be really difficult to coordinate people who live in the future with people who live in the past. And so I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
And this is great. I think this will help a lot of people. And so I appreciate you taking the time for that.
Absolutely, man.
All right, cool. All right, we're getting out of here. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody for making it all the way to the end of the video. I look forward to reading your comments, and please try to be nice. We'll see you later.